And if you don't know where it's at, it's right at the Proverbs. I know sometimes that's one that we don't uh, exactly look up all the time, but in Ecclesiastic 3, we're going to be reading from chapter 1 on. And the word today is balance, right? Balance, like keep your balance. And when I was thinking of this, right, I was thinking, uh, I guess when I think of any word, my first word that comes in my brain is money, balance money. It's the first one always come in mind, right? But then I was thinking balance of standing. And a lot of us don't realize, right? Our balance is very bad, right? A lot of us realize it because this right here is not a good balance, right? Yeah, you can lean forward, you can lean back, but if somebody comes and push you, you're going to fall over like this. The good balance is like this, and most people don't realize that. Somebody comes and push me, I could probably withstand it now. If I do this, I'm going backwards, and that's the craziest thing to think. You think, oh, straight line, that'll be a great balance. It's not always the best balance. You ever played Jenga, right? Where you got to put the block on top, and sometimes you got to hang the block off to the side because it's tilted. Did I do that? Oh, okay. I was like, man, that was pretty good. Playing the piano without you touching it. But you have to put it on the side to try to keep it a balance. Um, and we think about this as games or as a stance, but we don't think about it as spiritually a lot because we don't think about trying to balance our lives, but we almost have to because if we read in Ecclesiastic, we'll start in verse 1. It says, to everything there's a season, a time for every purpose under the heavens. And we're going to stop right there real quick. It says there's a time and there's a purpose, right? And that's where you balance stuff. There's a time to raise your kids and there's a time not to raise your kids. I'm not raising my kids no more. I still educate them. I still try to teach them stuff, but I'm not raising them. If I try to raise my kids now and didn't raise them when they were little kids, you know what kind of kids they would be? They'd be, well, whoever else raised them. Here's the thing that I was blessed with Faith Baptist Church and school, right? People don't realize kids are very impressionable from the ages of, I'd say about 2 into 5 or 6. You know what a lot of people do? From that age, their kids are in daycare and school. You know who's teaching your kids? Daycare and school. If you don't know what kind of daycare or school you're sending your kid to, guess what? You don't know what kind of kid you're going to get. There's a balance. Right? Don't get me wrong, if you have to have your kid in a daycare, but if you're not teaching them at night anything, they're not getting that balance. Here's one also I see is teenagers. They're very impressible. They're very unbalanced. A lot of times when teenagers do something wrong, everybody says they're unbalanced. Their chemical, their bodies are changing. Their chemical balance ain't correct. That's why they lash out. They don't know how to control their emotions and everything. Because little kids, right, generally are happy. You ever notice that? When babies are born, they're the happiest, they're the outgoing. But I'd say around 10, that it changes, that the anger comes in, the love. I think it's not just anger and love comes and hits at the same time. They start seeing the opposite sex differently. They stop seeing it as, oh, not a friend, girlfriend, boyfriend, and that comes in together and they don't know how to control it. And we say, but there's a balance that they have to maintain. And it's hard when you're a teenager and very impressionable at that time. When I say, when you got to raise your kids, there's a time and there's a season for everything. You raise your kid as a kid until about 10. You raise your teenager until young adults. I always say from 10, you go, that's not a teenager, I know, but it's preteen, let's call it that, from 10 until about 24. After 24, I think most people are set in their ways. Some people are slow. Now, girls, they might be 20. Once they hit 20, they're set. you can't change them. I mean, way they are is way they are, you know? And people go, oh, people change. Yeah, you do, but it takes a lot longer work on it because my glasses are dirty. Oh, well, I ain't gonna be able to read without them. Right? You're not gonna be able to change somebody behavior quickly. Like me and my wife, we're not the same 20-year-olds, 30-year-olds, and the 40-year-olds that we used to be. We changed, but it was a casual change. It wasn't overnight change. With kids, it's overnight changes. Uh, they love their mom today. Tomorrow, they're yelling at mom. Right? Thank you, babe. Right? A lot of us don't see the changes that we do as quickly as you do in your kids. Like Jackson, I think just this summer he probably grew 2 inches, right? 1 inch, all right. Yeah. So he grew an inch. I mean, one day I came in, I was like, I know I saw you last week. Did you hit a growth spurt? And because I know mom and dad loves it that he's growing, but also the high warties always, you hate them. Right? You don't know what high warties are. Is when your pants gets a little higher, right? You're waiting for a flood. I used to wear high warties a lot because I kept hitting growth spurts, and we were poor back then, so you had to wear it. Until you got a hole, it wasn't bad yet. I think I invented what are they called, capris. You know, they used to be regular pants, but they turned into capris. You know, after a while. But there's a balance there that when we grow, we got to grow with everything. A lot of times when we grow in our lifetimes, do we grow? Because with my kids, I was able to let them grow on their own a little bit, with mom and dad a little bit, and with with God a lot. When mom and dad was with them, they grew with God. But when I say a little bit on their own, right? When you see a kid climbing the ladder and you're like, don't do that. You're climbing it the wrong way. There's a big step and there's a little one, right? I'm telling you, don't. Bam. All right. Guess what? He learned not to do that no more. Just like a light socket. I've never let my kids stick their finger in there, but when they got close, I popped their hand. Guess what? They initiated. If I get too close to that, there's going to be pain. So they didn't mess with it, right? I know if you done it, I love you, but we never childproofed our house one time. You know what we did? We whipped out kids. My kids never walked into the kitchen until they were a teenager. You mean walked in the kitchen? They weren't allowed in the kitchen. The kitchen was mom's kitchen, right? Dad's kitchen. If you needed something, you came in with us. Now, we're walked in, they could come in. They about to go in, where you going? Kitchen. No, you're not. You don't go that way. You get your butt popped, right? And there was a balance in the house, right? But we got to learn when there's a balance, there's a reason for it. If we read Ecclesiastics, it tells us a lot of balances. And we think about this, we think about a little bit of it, but we don't think about all of them. Let me read a lot of them to you. In verse 2, it says, there's a time to be, if you didn't know, we're in Ecclesiastic 3, verse 2. There's a time to be born, a time to die, a time to plant, and a time to pick, which is planted. There's a time to kill, a time to heal, a time to break down, and a time to build up, a time to weep, and a time to laugh, a time to mourn, and a time to dance, a time to cast away stones, and a time to gather stones together, a time to embrace, and time to reform from embarrassment, a time to get, and a time to lose, a time to keep, and a time to cast away, a time to rent, a time to sow, a time to keep silence, and this one, time to speak. I like that part. Time to speak. To keep silence are hard for me. All right. A time to love and a time to hate, a time of war and a time of peace. I'm going to stop right there on that one. Here's one that United States, I ain't getting into politics, but when they talk about war, in the Bible, there's a time for war and there's a time for peace. There is war mentioned in the Bible. We do have war. There's time for war. When it's against our Christianity, serving our God, there is a time for war. Spiritual battles are out there. There's so many false teachers out there right now. They're running different governments. They're running different churches. There's going to be a time of war coming. Um, I don't know when Armageddon's coming, but it's coming soon. We hopefully us as here, we all get to leave and don't have to see a bit of it when the rapture takes place. But I'm telling you, it's going to be a war going on, and it's getting. And I'll be honest with you, I would love to see it, but I'm glad I don't have to see it. The reason I would love to see it because I know I'm on the winning side. That would because can you imagine? Because I love our Bible. You know where there was a battle and there was like 10,000 men and they had like 100 and they win that battle because God, like David and Goliath. I mean, they're the ones I'm like, man, that's what I want. I like to be on the side with 10 people beating 1,000 people, just because you got God on your side. But there's a balance there, right? Trust me, them 100 people probably went through a lot of pain, a lot of suffering, a lot of for the Lord, but then they got to see the victory of that. Uh, when we think about uh, always a balance, we want to think always good stuff. There's always bad stuff. Because, like, if you don't pay your bills, and you just go have fun all the time, that's going to be an unequal balance. And guess what's going to happen? You're going to be kicked out of your house on the street doing nothing. And that I'm guilty of that sometimes, spending too much trying to have fun, but I pay the price later. But we got to realize there's always a balance there. And if we're not careful, we'll unbalance stuff in our lives so easily. Like, I'm bad at this. How many of us eat balanced meals? I mean, think about that. I mean, they say you're supposed to eat 3 vegetables a day. I'm lucky if I eat 1 vegetable a day. I kid you not. I'm lucky if I do 1 a day. I never have vegetable for breakfast. I mean, it's eggs and bread, sausage. There's no. I mean, you think about it. You go to McDonald's. Do you get vegetables? I mean, you get French fries. I don't know if that's considered tater tots. But you see what I'm saying? We don't do vegetable food. Nobody. You're supposed to do 3 a day, and we're lucky if we do 1. Lunch, again, McDonald's, Burger King. We're not doing vegetables, right? Dinner, if you go out to eat, even I mean, I try to make up for it. I eat a salad. There's all my vegetables in 1 meal, but I've not been doing salads like I'm supposed to. I like a lot of ranch dressing, and that probably kills all the vegetable uh, deal there. But you got to have a good balance, and we don't. And then we complain why our body hurts sometimes, and why. Could remember that old saying: if you ate a carrot every day, you're supposed to have better vision, right? I didn't eat carrots every day, so I'm paying the price now. Could have been true. I don't know. I never tried because I don't eat that many carrots. But we got to have a balance even in our diets, balance in our budget, even a balance in our Christian lives, because a lot of us will do. Now, I've been here. I know our pastor and his wife been here. Do. We're doing all this for God because the church is, hey, you got to do this conference. You got to do this conference. You need to be at the basketball game. You need to be at the football game. You need to be here. Do. But we're not doing anything for God. We're doing everything God related, but nothing for God. We're not spiritually growing. We're not spiritually grounded. But we're doing for God. We're wore out because we've been at every basketball game, every church service. And hurricane comes. Guess what? Still church service. You got to be there because you got to be there, right? Kids got ammonia. Don't care. Put them in the back row. You got to be there. I kid you not. I mean, we had to be at the church service, every service, right? It was mandatory to be there. And I love the church. It was a great church. I think at the end, some of the rules got a little weird, but that's why we all move on. But it was unbalanced. It was, don't come to church because you love God and you want to serve God. Come to church because you have to. Because when they made that rule, I think there was only a couple that stood up, and I made the point. I said, once you make it mandatory, I'm no longer serving God. And they go, what do you mean by that? I said, because I can't give myself to the service because you're making me come. And I said, that's wrong. And they're like, no, but we need. I said, the people ain't coming. Talk to them. Don't talk to me because we were normally there anyway. When we weren't there, it was because somebody was sick and we didn't want to spread the germs. But the ones that weren't coming had spiritual problems. And we knew who they were, but we didn't point it out because I'm trying to get that beam out of my eye before I worry about your splinter. I didn't point that out, but they couldn't see that. They blamed everybody and made it mandatory. And that's just like tithing. I tried a couple of times to get my tithe taken out of my paycheck because I said, I just can't. They said, if we do that, then you're not a cheerful giver. You're doing it because it's mandatory. You need to do it on your own. And I was like, yeah, but I spend it and I can't. They said, but you need to be willing to do it as a gift, cheerful giver, not a you shouldn't do it as taken out of your check beforehand because. And I was like, yeah, but you don't understand. I have that weakness. I see money. I my wife's better at it. She pays her tithes good. I'm a hoarder. Money, food, candy, anything you give it to me, I don't let it go. My wife will tell you, I got candy still on my shelf. Right, grandkids come over and she's like, and I'll look at her like, don't offer my candy. Now I buy candy for the grandkids and buy candy, right? But they always want my candy and not their candy. I don't know why, right? But I always I'm a hoarder. I like my stuff. I don't give away a lot of stuff. My wife, Lily, I think he matched me up. He balanced us because she's the giver. She's the one that gives. I'm a hoarder. I hoard everything. She'll tell you I still have stuff from I had a military shirt from basic training. She finally threw away because it was one of them PT gray shirts. You literally, not just one end of it. I'm talking about the whole shirt. You could hold it like that and see through it. And I was like, but it fits very well. I don't know how all the stuff fell out of it and you could see that good through it, but it was transparent. I wish I could have had that shirt and took a picture before she threw it away because it was, I mean, I don't know what it was made of, but I had it for over 20 some years. I wouldn't throw it away. We had the same couch. How long? I mean, I think 10 years ago? So 20 something years. But guess what? My mom had it. My grandmother had it. It was a wooden, old Indian type cushion thing. I had that thing. I actually had it so long, we had to treat it for termites because it had termites in it because it's real wood. And we had to treat it to get the termites out of it. Had little holes in it from termites. But I'm a hoarder. I'm unbalanced. And I got to try to balance myself out because you ever seen the trees in the woods out here? You ever see them growing on a mountain? You ever notice something about them? And see, this is me. I'm a hoarder. If I collect too much stuff, I'm going to fall over. Because you only got so much. You ever put so much stuff in your hand, it starts falling out? Trees on the mountain. I was watching it as I was coming. I said, I didn't notice. You know, a lot of times they're hanging off the cliff, but they're still standing. But you ever notice this side ain't got that many branches on it? Most of them on the other side. Them branches are keeping it balanced, right? It's actually keeping itself upright by having more on this side than this side, or it'll fall over. It's actually balanced. If it's not careful and it decides to grow one on the other side, guess what we have? Tree down. Or if the wind blows and causes them branches to lift up and push to the other side, it falls over. Very unbalanced. Because I was looking at that today. There's one tree coming up. I mean, I don't know how it's still standing. It's leaning over the road like this. I mean, and it starts bending like halfway up, and it's like that, almost just like what my elbow's doing. And I'm like, that is crazy. Right? Why don't the power company come cut it down? Nope, they'll wait till it falls. But very unbalanced. I feel like we are like that as Christians, is we got so many branches on the wrong side, right? And if we're not careful, right, we're gonna fall over, right? We got to be balanced. Um, other way I could look at that is, you ever seen a tree in a storm? If that tree's not prepared for the storm, a lot of times they'll just snap, right? Palm trees in Florida are famous for that. They don't fall over a lot of time unless the ground's weak. A lot of times they'll just snap right here in the middle. Just snap. Why? Because they don't got that give. Your oak trees, they sway. They'll give to the storm a little bit. They stay up. A lot of time it's what they're rooted in. Think about our Christianity lives like that is what we're rooted in, is how we'll stand. And if we stand in with God, we'll be more balanced and we won't flip over because our roots are really well. But then when we come up and we start branching out, serving God, doing God work, a lot of times what we'll do, and I've done this, and you'll pick up a hobby, and God said that hobby's okay. You can have that branch. Well, we serving God, we're reading our Bible, hobby, hobby. Oh, back to God, hobby. That branch becomes heavy. We need to prune that branch off before it takes us over. A lot of times when we got to get pruned, we got to take away something because it's going to either topple us or it's going to snap on its own. A lot of times, something that's hurting us, we just break it off and throw it away. You ever see a huge branch fall off a tree? It was for the better because if it didn't probably fall off, it would probably pull the tree with it. A lot of times, things in our lives break off, a job, somebody passing away, um, move, things that come into your life. It seems like a bad break, but there's a reason behind it. We got to be balanced. And I know I went a long time on that. If you turn to Ecclesiastes 7:13, since we're really close, I want to read this one real quick. If I can find it, 13. It says, consider thy works, God, for who can make things straight, which he has crooked. Remember I was saying how we're standing like this, it's unbalanced, right? Somebody can knock me over, but if I stand like this, I'm more balanced. God makes things crooked for a reason, right? A lot of times we'll see something crooked and we're like, that's not, let's pull that straight. There's a reason God made it crooked. We don't have to straighten out Brother Joe, right? His craziness don't need to be straightened out. We don't have to straighten out my wife being a great giver. He made her, not saying that you're crooked for that, but I'm crooked always, but no, not that kind of crooked, squirvy, right? I'm thinking bad now, but he made her that way for a reason, right? He made me this way for a reason. A lot of times people see my, a little bit of my disability and want to joke on it because they want me to straighten out, but there's a reason behind it. God made us the way he makes us for a reason. He puts things in your path for a reason. We don't have to straighten out everything. We love to straighten out this mountain, right? One, just the road coming up, right? But there's a reason behind it, right? Maybe keep people from going 110 miles per hour over the mountain. They try it anyway, but they don't always make it over, you know? Well, to make it over the side, but not over the top, right? But that's where we got to understand there's a reason why it's crooked. When I saw that, I was like, we got to have a balance, but all our balances might not be straight, right? That's why I was talking about that Jenga. Might not make it straight because it's leaning over this way. You put it dead on, it's going to fall over. You have to put it a little bit more on that side. And sometimes our balances aren't always straight, right? Hey, we come to church all the time, but we're not doing great big revivals. Yeah, we're not going straight on that, but it could equal out. It might not. But God has us here on Mountaintop for a reason. Might not be the straight path that we're expecting. Now, when I say crooked like that, there's only one path to heaven, the straight and the narrow. We understand that. That's not what I'm talking about. Like an ailment. We might have an ailment and we want it to go away, but God says, nope, I need you to have that, right? Hey, we don't have $1 billion because God says, I need you to be this way. But he wants us to balance everything out that we have. A lot of time, what we'll do, and been guilty of this many times, is we're doing so much for God, we get unbalanced, and God's like, you're letting that slack. And he can't give you more because he wants to give you more over here, right? Well, let me go that way. Balance is wrong over here. But if he does, it's going to be more unbalanced. So a lot of times we want stuff over here, but we're a little bit unbalanced. God's like, fix that, right? And then, hey, okay, now God, I'm over here. God's like, all right, I got you. When God can fix our balance easily. Well, most of the time, it's us got the balance undone. If this us and this God can add or take easily. Our problem is we want to try to fix it by throwing more on, and that just unevens, right? Or we quit altogether, and then it throws it the other way, right? Our biggest problem is we got to be careful not to try to balance it the wrong way. We need God more than anything. Reading, prayer. The other day, it was Friday. We went to Barnes and Noble. My son, he was off, and I said, you know what? He's probably sitting at home. Hey, you want to go to church or the mall with us? We're going to go to Barnes and Nobles. He's like, yeah, sure. We grabbed the pizza. We got Angie something, a Chick-fil-A. Me and him eating a pizza. My granddaughter calls me. Right? We're talking, my other son, and he's like, Dad, she wants you to pray for her food and everything because she won't eat unless you pray. And I pray. I said, well, I guess I can pray for mine too because I'm eating pizza and we're in the car. You know, you don't think about praying for your food in the car. You just think about eating. I said, I'll pray for mine and her at the same time. First time in a while that I prayed like that. I didn't close my eyes. I was driving. Right. But it's funny, the little bit of balance there, right? I need my granddaughter, just a prayer. You know, we don't think about it all the time, just trying to keep things balanced in one area of our lives. Because all of us will pray at night. All of us will read our Bible, hopefully once a day. I've been guilty of missing it, right? We'll try to do all that, but go to work and never talk about God one time, right? Don't get me wrong. There's some workplaces you can't, and I understand that, right? There's just no opportunity. I understand that, right? But nobody says when somebody sneezes, God bless you. I do it all the time, right? Somebody said, God bless you, right? Time to eat lunch, amen. Make sure I say amen a little louder. You know, wow, okay. You know, I know I'm trying to show people that I'm praying, but I'm just trying to show, hey, I'm a godly man. You know, I do it for a reason. How many of us keep that balance, right? I was guilty of that for a couple of years at work. Didn't want to talk about God. God was at home, church, but work because people would, but then I let that pass. I got that balance right. So we just got to make sure we balance ourselves. This word here was, I got a couple more, but like I'm already past my time a little bit. But we just wanted to make sure that we love God the way we're supposed to. We follow God's path. Because even in your relationship, you got to have a good balance. If I love my wife more than she loves me, that's an unequal balance. You know, bad in a relationship. I always say the best relationship is when either partner don't think they have the upper hand in a relationship. You go, what? When one partner knows they have the upper hand, bad relationship. You go, what do you mean? If both partners think the other one's going to leave them, hate them, not saying that they think that all the time, but like they'll love on them more and the other one will love on them more. It sounds weird. It's got to be an equal balance. When one's up here and one's down here, either this one's worshiping up the ground, this one's walking on, and this one's walking all over down. And that's the way it happens all the time. We got to have that equal balance, even in our love lives, even our children's lives, because does it got to change? Oh, yeah. When you have children, I was in my children's lives every day. I go weeks without, I hate to say talking to them. I don't want to. I try to text them and call them, but I've gone almost a month one time without talking to my daughter. And said, really? Yeah. She's busy working. I'm busy working. When I get home, I love on my wife. When I saw my son, I talked to him, talked to my other son, and it just got so busy. Because how many of us are like this? When your parents were, mine are gone now, last alive? When's the last time you talked to them before? When's the last time you called them? I've gone from Thanksgiving to Christmas, Christmas to Valentine's Day, Valentine's to Easter, Easter to birthday, things like that. I mean, just life got busy. When they passed away, you missed the time. Like my dad, hate to say, the day I missed him the most was Father's Day because he passed away in April. I always called him on Father's Day. That was our day that we always talked. I was trying to get it with my kids that every day that I text them. So if I pass away that next morning, they don't get that text. They'd be like, I missed Dad's text. What's that one thing that you want that next person, the balance of love there, that they need you? Because I saw something on TikTok and it's so true. Dads don't ever stop loving their kids. They're just waiting for that next hug. I mean, if your kid walked up to you today and hugged you, right, you'd be like, man, it'll make a parent melt. You know what? My daughter used to do it to me. Dad, all right, how much money you want? I kid you not. That was her thing. I got a hug every time she needed money. I mean, I almost knew when she needed money. It was an unbalance there. If she would have did it every day, then she asked for money one day, I'd be like, oh, probably pulled out the money and gave her. But it was the only time I got a hug, it was unbalanced, And a lot of times we're like that, unbalanced. With God, how many times we're like, all right, God, thank you for today. Thank you. Thank you for God. I love you so much. Can you help me out with my bills? Yeah, I mean, we're like that with God. We're unbalanced. We give more to our time, and we don't even talk to our Heavenly Father unless hey, can you help this? Can you help? Can you? I mean, it's that kid that only gives you a hug when you want something. I talked one day. Me and Becky was talking about something, and we talked about it. And I said, "You only call me when you need something." And she told me I broke her heart a little bit with that because she said, "Yeah, you're right." Because when you tell a kid something, but guess what? I didn't call her either. It was partly my fault, but I was like, but the only time you call me when you need something. So we started calling each other regularly just to check up, but it's slowly fading again. I need to call her today. It's partly my fault, but it's some of us do that all the time. Like I hate to say, I call Russ up when I need something medically a lot of times. Russ like, oh, Joe only needs something medical. Right? And that's the only time I called him. I just tried to ask him, hey, I hope you're having a good day. Because I actually sent a friend that's a pastor at another church today a message. Hey, I hope you're having a good service today. I was thinking of you, praying for you. Have a blessed day. That was the whole conversation. I didn't ask him for anything. I didn't want anything. Because 9 times out of 10, I'm going to be calling him for something. I always do. Right? And I didn't want that was something on my mind today. We got to be balanced even with our relationships with people. Now, today, just make a bunch of text messages. Everybody the last 10 text messages to people that you text, because like me, I did the joke of the day. When's the last time I did the joke of the day? It slowly fades. It was just something where I was telling you guys, I love you. I appreciate you. Here's a funny joke, but it's easy to fall off on that stuff. I'm very forgetful. I forget a lot of stuff and get busy. This message right here is me trying to prune off a lot of bad and make myself more level. Because I feel like I'm going to topple over, and I don't want to topple over. Because a lot of times you topple over, you die, right? And you take a lot of other trees with you. You take a lot of other branches with you. And 9 times out of 10, you don't get back up. Now, in Christian lives, we get up more. I won't use that tree analogy, but just I don't know. I just feel like this message is for me so badly. Hopefully for some of you guys, but I just got so much unbalance that I could just see me pruning away for the next year and still, because you know what happens is, you ever prune a tree out here? What happens next year? You got to prune it again, right? I could start pruning now, but next year I'm gonna have some extra growth that I'm gonna have to trim off again. Right? Sometimes it's people, sometimes it's hobbies, sometimes it's work. Yeah, not all work, but some work. Right? I pruned off a job and started another job because I felt like it was time for me to in that job. You got to prune away people at your job, right? If they're dragging you down spiritually, mentally, um, I used to be that problem to people. I used to drag people down by talking a lot of time, right? Because I talk way too much. They're like, Joe, just shut up sometime. Like y'all probably telling me this morning, right? But sometimes we just go too far with things, right? And it's just like, you're annoying. Shut up, right? And I've done that. I've talked too much, not meaning talking too much. I talk too much anyway. But I mean, in certain situations, when I've done it in fights with me and my wife, should have shut my mouth, let it go. And I try to say the next word. She's like, you ain't getting the last word in. Shut up. And so you gotta be careful of unbalance. And sometimes it's talk, like I said, just read that Ecclesiastic 3 and all the different things that you could. There's a time to mourn death. There's time to laugh, right? I've been at funerals and giggled the heart. Was it I think it was my dad's funeral, or was it Precious? I don't remember. They died 2 weeks apart. So I don't remember. Me, my sister, and my brother, there's a picture with my leg like this. My brother and sister are holding it, right? And we're just giggling. The morning was over. It was time to laugh. And I'm in my suit. My brother's in a suit. My sister's in a nice dress. So we just came from the funeral site and we're laughing. There is a time to mourn, but there is a time to laugh, right? We got to be careful on holding on to the mourning sometime. Don't get me wrong. You can mourn a year. My sister's still mourning about my niece. My niece has been dead almost 10 years now. My sister, she's got time still to mourn. You can mourn my dad, my mom. I still mourn their death sometimes. There's still time to mourn. Don't get me wrong. It ain't got to be a second later, year later, 10 years later. But there is a time to laugh too, to take away the pain of the mourning. You don't constantly mourn for 30 years for somebody to pass 30 years ago. You know, my dad died when I was 5 years old. If I still mourn his death, I'll be a miserable person. You know, I have laughed a lot since then. We just got to know when it's time to mourn and a time to laugh. Don't get me wrong, take some people longer. When my niece died, it took my sister almost a year to get through that. Losing a child, I don't know. Losing a sibling, never done that, right? If you going through that, you might know. Now, me and Angie had a different reaction. We went through miscarriage, right? I went one way, she went another way. I went rough and tough and being a strong person. She went into mourning, sadness, and grief through it. It caused a lot of friction between us. God blessed us with another child, and we were able to get through that. But there's times to be a certain way, and I was the wrong way for her. And that's where we got to be careful, unbalanced. I was very unbalanced. I was trying to go, I'm tough, I'm bold, I'm a man. I don't need, we lost a baby, no big deal, try to be the solid one. It was wrong at that time. Later on, I did mourn for it. It took me a while to realize what I did so wrong. Sometimes we don't even pay attention. We're in the moment. God might get that unbalance later. Let us pray. I go for hours. I got to get past.